This is the Weird Investor, and today's topic is comparison between South or Central American residencies and European residencies. When I'm going to consider Europe, it's going to be non-EU, none of the golden visas which require you to put tons of money in real estate. I'm going to cover European residencies that are either free of cost or come with very little investment, and investment in real estate on the free market, which really doesn't need any golden visas of any kind. So let's get started with the topic. So on the Central or South American side, the four top residencies that I would personally pick or consider are Mexico, Ecuador, Uruguay, and Spain. So those are the four I feel are quite valuable. We can have a separate discussion surrounding why I feel these four are really good and worth considering. And on the European side, I would pick Albania, Serbia, and Montenegro. So that's on the European side, non-EU European residencies. So to compare the pros and cons, I think some of the pros of South American residency are it's closer to the US and Canada. So if you're from the West, I think the proximity makes it quite easy. You have direct flight connections, both from Canada as well as from the US. So traveling to South or Central America makes it quite easy. If you're from the West, you're closer to home. So that's one advantage. The second advantage is the weather is warm. So it could be an advantage or a disadvantage. There are a lot of people who like hot, warm climate. So it gives you that great weather if you're a hot weather person. But if you are someone who doesn't really mind that occasional snow or likes cooler weather, then South or Central America could be a little too hot for you, because the weather is more comparable to, let's say, in Miami. It's always hot. It's really on the warmer side. So it could be an advantage, it could be a disadvantage based on what kind of weather you like. The disadvantage with Central or South America is that you would need to have some knowledge of Spanish. If you purely just speak English, not everyone speaks English, and you might have a tough time living long term. And especially if you are going to live your life there, if you're going to spend some time there, then if you're interacting with the locals, you'll eventually get fed up if you're only going to rely on English as your primary language. So that could be one of the disadvantages. On one side, you're comparing a European feel, a European culture, and then contrasting that with the South American Spanish culture. They're very different. It's just you need to sort of consider what would you like more. Would you like the Spanish type of a vibe, or would you like a European culture, European feel when you're considering a residence? On the European side, I think there's a younger population in Europe that likes to speak in English. They want to use as much English as possible. So over a long period of time, I think it may give you a better experience if you're solely going to rely on English as your primary language. Of course, it's not going to be easy for you to learn Serbian, so you would rely on English as your primary language, unless you obviously know Serbian or Russian, in addition to obviously whatever language you speak. So that's the thing on the European side. One of the big drawbacks on the European side would be the travel time. So if you're from the West, and the connectivity won't be there won't be direct flights, so you're going to be relying on either the UK or Turkey to make that connection, and then you travel to Europe, especially if you're going to the Balkan areas. There aren't going to be direct flights, so you're always going to be away from home based on where you are at. So that's something that could be a disadvantage for someone who is closer to the European region, or who is from other parts of Europe. It might be in fact the other way around, where it's closer to your place and it makes more sense going there. The other drawback with a European residency is that you have physical residency requirements. So if you're getting a real estate and if you're getting a residency permit, then you would need to have some sort of physical presence. They will check that you're living there, and then they will issue you a residency permit. And most of these countries would want a certain amount of time you live there in order to maintain your residency permit. So that could be a disadvantage and could be a hassle for some people. Whereas on the South American side, when it comes to residency, there's a lot of flexibility. Like for example, in Mexico, if you have a TR, then you don't have any residency requirements. If in Ecuador you have a TR, there isn't any minimum residency requirements. Pretty flexible on the residency aspects. You can live there for more time, you can live there for less time. It is flexible. When you compare that with a European residency, you would need to put some time on the ground. You would have to actually live there for some time in order to maintain that residency. So that could be a disadvantage compared to the South American residency option. The one advantage on the European side is that the real estate over there is cheaper, so you can really afford a very cheap real estate. You can, if you invest, I think you get great deals on the European side. On the South or Central American side, again, depending upon where you're going, if it is Mexico, real estate might be more expensive than the Balkans area. So that's something that you would want to consider. In the end, if you compare the two and ask me which one is better, I think both are different. Both give you a different lifestyle. I think the way, if I'm choosing a residency, I always like variety. So if I'm spending some time at one place, I would want to change things around. I would want to get a different feel. And then once I'm done with that feel, I would start missing something. So I'm a person who keeps missing, different experiences. So for me, having one of each kind of really diversifies my portfolio, not only in terms of my investment, but also in terms of my experience. So have exposure both places. I feel more connected globally. So I would say picking one good quality residency on the South American side along with a residency on the European side, especially if you're investing in cheap real estate in Europe and in return you're getting the benefit of a residency, then I would like to have that combination. It's just a lot more fun. The only one thing is that you would be traveling more places, so that's something that either you like. If you like it, then that's a good experience. If you find that as a hassle, then maybe one residency might work best for you. But in terms of which one is better, they're just different experiences. One is a European feel and a European experience. The other one is a Spanish feel and a Spanish experience. So it really is a personal choice. I think both are entertaining, both are fun. You need a variety, so you can keep both. If you can't afford both or don't have the time or don't want to don't like traveling as much, then you decide which one suits your needs best. If you're from the West and proximity is critical, then maybe you would like like Mexico, which is pretty easy to go back and forth. But if you are someone who likes traveling and away from home, then you can also consider one of the European residencies. If you want to get started with any of your residencies, either on the South or Central American side or on the European side, click the link in the description, book a call with us, and we can get you started with your residency of choice. And if you haven't already, click the bell notification and subscribe so you get access to all the content I create. And until next time, you take care. Goodbye.